Hello friends and family, thank you so much for joining me again in the Naba's Kitchen. If you have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and hit the subscription button with authority and turn on your notification by hitting that bell icon so that I can see you again on my next video. I would love for you to join this growing amazing family. And if you are on the quest to include more green leafy vegetables in your cooking, then you are in the right place today because I have the perfect recipe for you. So I have these fresh kontomire leaves here that I picked up from the grocer. I'm going to go ahead and clean them up by removing these woody areas, these stalks. Remove them and thoroughly wash them here in my sink and cook them up for about 10 minutes with just a little bit of water in my saucepan here until they're nice and soft and tender. And then I'm going to stop the cooking process really quickly with some chilled cold water that has some ice in it so that I can retain the green nature of this beautiful leaf. And then I'm going to blend it up into a nice juicy puree, and then we'll continue from there. So come on and join me. So if you have just joined us, we have Ebunuebunu on the menu today, a very popular dish to the Akan people in Ghana, West Africa. It is known as Ebunuebunu, translated literally is green soup, and it tells you that soup is gonna be green because we're using taro root leaves, which is also kontomire, known locally to the Ghanaian people. And if you don't have access to kontomire, you are always welcome to use spinach, frozen or fresh. I have done that before in the past and it worked nicely. So what we have done so far is boiled our kontomire for just 10 minutes. Turn the heat off at this point, and we're going to blanch it by using ice cold water with some ice in it to stop the cooking process, to retain the green color of the leaf and also to retain the great nutrients that comes from this leaf. Okay, so that's what we're about to do. And we're going to blend it up into a nice, beautiful, green, juicy puree. There you go. And we use the same liquid we boiled it with, including the blanching liquid. So there you have it. We're going to set it on the side until we're ready to incorporate it. So I'm going to be using smoked turkey in preparing this dish. It's going to be my main meat. And that's because my children are going to be eating this, and they love the soup because it has smoked turkey in it. If I cook any dish with smoked turkey, my children will eat it. They don't care what it is. They don't care that it's green. They will eat it. So anyway, I've also added some cured beef, and I'll have a video on how I cure my beef coming up pretty shortly. I've added a whole onion peeled, including 1 Roma tomato, and you don't need a whole lot of tomatoes in this recipe. Also here is a marinade, which I used onions, ginger, garlic, Serrano chilies, 1 habanero pepper, and some fennel seeds. I've blended it up with 400 milliliters of water, and I have included that in my meat, and I'm going to cook it for about 30-35 minutes until the meat is nice and tender. So there we go. Cover it up and cook it up. Now, growing up as a child, I remember my mom used to cook this soup. At the time, I thought it was just way too often. She made it at least 2 to 3 times a week. But she was a young mother, and she was only trying to incorporate healthy ingredients in her family's diet at the time. Although I didn't care for it, I grew up loving this dish because it's so nutritious and it's also very, very, very yummy. Okay, now I do it a lot for my children. Okay, and I trick them because I use their favorite meat and they enjoy it. I just included some dried smoked shrimp, and that's going to help begin the layering of the authenticity in flavors. And this dish is going to really give it a depth of flavor. And this dish needs to really taste local. You know, it has to be authentic. What you're looking at is dawadawa, which is locust bean. Is going to bring my favorite flavor profile to cook with, which is umami. And I add a little bit of that to my onion and my tomato, which I've cooked up and blended up into this beautiful sauce that you're looking at. And I'm going to go ahead and incorporate it in my meat and continue cooking it for another maybe 15 minutes or so. I also add a little bit of water just to thin it up a little bit, and I cover it up and continue cooking. So there you have it. So maybe my mom perhaps should have incorporated some smoked turkey, and maybe I would have enjoyed it a little more. Just kidding, mother. So there you go. I have also added some mushrooms to it, and that's going to also bring an earthiness to this dish, which is really nice. Most people cook Ebunuebunu with mushrooms. And I've also just added some blue crabs to it. I say this is optional. Most people will say it's not optional to cook Ebunuebunu without the crabs. If you don't have access to it, you can obviously omit it. I am also going to add some snails, as you can see, going in right now. These are fresh, and I was just fortunate to find it at my local Ghanaian grocery shop. If you don't have access to the fresh kind and you like snails or escargot, you can get that from like a place like Walmart. They sell the canned kind, and that will work perfectly as well. I also just added some smoked dried fish. That's also going to bring a great depth of flavor. So the ogre, not the ogre, but ogre is very similar to the dawadawa that we just added, the locust bean, because they both bring umami. And what is umami? Umami is a very deep, intense, meaty, glutamate flavor. It's also a savory flavor, and you can get that from using things like soy sauce, oyster sauce, fish sauce, even miso paste, and also in Ghana we use a lot of momoni, which is fermented fish, which is similar to shrimp paste here in the United States. You can find it in a Vietnamese store. That's umami. And then we also use dried salted fish. It's actually tilapia, we call it kobe. That's also umami. That's just to give you an example of what umami is like. So there you go. So after 15 extra minutes of cooking the crab and the snails, including the smoked fish, I add my green puree. And there you go. And I also added some habanero peppers, and I did not take the heads off because my children are going to eat this and I want them to enjoy it. I don't want to render this soup inedible because of the heat. So I've dished some up onto my fresh fufu, and there's a video already loaded on how I prepare my fresh fufu, so look at it. All right, so thank you for watching. Make it a great day and have fun, especially in that kitchen.